So, welcome to a new episode and a new session. Our new session is about attack on the uncastled king. And actually, most common mistake amongst amateurs and new players, young players, they wait too long to castle. So, we are going now to show some examples to see how casting early in the game, in the opening, is very important, and uh, and casting early is considered as a part of our development. So we have to develop and castle as soon as possible. So we start with the first example: e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight to f6, and this is the two knights defense. d4, he takes d4, and castling. So white castles after 4 moves only. So now the rook attack the knight, and the knight is pinned to the king. So what to do? We must defend. So black plays d5. At the same time, he is defending the knight and attacking the bishop on c4, and also he opened the diagonal for the bishop on c8. So let's see how the game continues. Bishop takes d5. So maybe white is a little bit confident, so he is sacrificing his bishop to get the initiative and start the attack against the black king in the center. So queen takes d5, knight to c3, and with knight to c3 we can see that the knight attacks the knight on e4, attacks the queen on d5, and the pawn on d4 is pinned, because in case pawn takes knight, queen takes queen, and this is winning for white. So after this, of course, black ran away with his queen to h5. So the knight takes the knight on e4. White gets very good chances for attack. The black king still in the center. So maybe black is in a bit trouble. This is a variation. So back to the game. Black played bishop to c5. Excellent, developing a piece and trying to castle. But let's see how white responds to his move. e5. Of course, because white king is safe and castle, so he has the initiative and he can open the position. So in case d5, so mutual attack, pawn attacks the knight, pawn attacks the bishop. So let's see, pawn takes knight, pawn takes the bishop, pawn takes g7, and also threatening to take the rook with queen, and this is very dangerous for black. So rook to g8, rook to e1 check, bishop to e6, and okay, white has a good chances, has a good attack, but nothing more. There is nothing very serious or very dangerous for black. So this is after just 9 moves. In the game, black played knight to e5, knight to e4, sorry. So this is a little bit surprising. and this is a bad move, and this is a common mistake. d5 is the typical move, actually. Could be played, attacking the bishop, and in case pawn takes the knight, so the pawn takes the bishop on c4. So now, what to do? There's many responses, so maybe rook to e1 is good. Also, queen to e2 is good. In the game, white played bishop to d5, also insisting on attacking the knight on e4. So when the opponent commits to a move or makes a mistake, so he is starting his way to a bad play. And if white or the opponent can use this mistake for his benefit, so it's good for him. So as white now trying to attack from d5, so black is forced to protect the knight or to run away. But as we see, all the squares for the knight are protected, are under control from white side. So how to defend the knight on e4? Maybe f5. And this is what happened. So f5, and this is the only way to defend actually. But in case knight b to d2, bringing more pieces and trying to open the game more and more, and especially now black cannot castle, so his king will remain and still hanging in the center. So knight takes knight, and bishop takes knight, and still the black king in the center, and this is the main problem for black. And this is analysis. In the game, white took e takes f6 en passant. So knight takes, so the knight goes back, but still now this diagonal from a2 to g8 is open, and the black king will remain in the center. So now rook e1 good, but white choose to play bishop to g5, considering that black king will remain in the center because he cannot castle. So the king now is under attack, and black must find a way to protect, maybe to play king to f8, or to go back with the knight, or with the bishop to e7 to block the attack of the rook. So in case bishop to e7, knight to g5, and as mentioned before, the attack will be very strong because the queen will come to h5, attack the king, and the bishop still on d5, playing a very important role. So in the game, black played knight to e7, knight to e5, knight to e7 also is bad because it cramps the black camp, and the king still in the center. Knight to e5, white is planning actually knight to f7, taking the queen, attacking the queen, and queen to h5 still is an option. In case knight takes d5, this is a variation. So queen check in case g6, knight takes g6, and cannot take because the queen will take the rook, and also we cannot take because there is a discovered check. So very painful, very bad for black. Knight to c6 also could be played. Now the queen is under attack and discovered check, so the queen is lost. So bishop takes e5. Bishop takes e5. Queen to h5. Check. So what to do? In case king to f8, so this is checkmate. In case knight to g6, rook takes e5 also, and the knight is pinned. The rook is safe. So still remain for us is g6, and also g6 is bad because queen takes e5, rook to f8, knight to d2. So black is cramped and in a defending situation, and white is very comfortable with his attack, so he is bringing more pieces to the attack, and this is a very good strategy or a very good plan for white. When you are attacking, you have to bring more pieces to enforce your attack. So now in case d6, attacking the queen, queen to g7, and everything is good for white. In case c6, attacking the bishop, nothing bad, knight to c4. In case c takes d5, the knight jump to d6, checkmate. So this is why we bring more pieces to make our attack more lethal or more successful. So now knight to e4 after c6. In case c d5, also the same maneuver or the same tactic, checkmate. In case queen to b6, just to give some square to the king to maneuver to run away. Knight check, king to d8, queen takes e7, and of course this is winning for white because now the rook will be lost. So in the game, d6 is played. Of course, the situation for black is very bad. Knight takes d6 with check, king to d5, king to d7, bishop to e6 check, king to c7, and there is many moves here. Knight c4 good, knight to b5 good, knight to d8 is good because all these moves are discovered check, and knight takes c8 also good, and this is what played in the game. Knight takes c8 with check, queen just to block because if not the king is baited, queen takes with check and checkmate, and all the squares attack. So also this. So this is the first game, and we saw that castling early is very good to bring our king to the safety. So let's see the next game. So the next game, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, and c3. And this is a very well known variation and the opening. This is the Jacob piano, c3, knight f6, man line. So knight f6, Jacob piano, d4, b takes d4, e5, and now d5 is excellent response. Other move, knight e4, we saw in the previous game, it's bad. Bishop to d5. In this game, black choose the pawn on e5 with the queen. And as a rule, we know that bringing the queen to the play early is very bad, unless there is a very powerful reason for this, or very strong reason for this. So after queen to e7, of course we can castle and bring our king to the safety. And by castling, we are protecting our pawn on e5 indirectly. So indirectly. So in case knight takes the pawn, knight takes pawn. So let's see. Knight takes, queen takes, and rook to e1. And now the queen almost lost. Knight to e4, queen to e2, d5, pawn takes d4, bishop d4, bishop d5, and in case bishop takes f2, queen takes f2, and still the knight is pinned. So knight takes, rook takes with check, and we can take the knights, and very big advantage for white. In case queen takes d5, queen takes e4, and queen e4, rook e4 with check, and the bishop is lost. Another variation, in case queen to e6, trying to block. So king to f1, and still now we can take the bishop. And in case queen takes, rook takes, attacking the king and attacking the bishop. So very powerful attack for white. In the game, after castling, so black played knight to g4. So the knight on e5 now is attacked by 3 pieces. But the big problem is the black king is in the center still. So what to do? So we played c takes d4, and this is normally a very powerful move, because it brings another pawn to protect the pawn on e5, and at the same time we're attacking the bishop on c5. So let's see how black will react for this. Bishop to b6, going back, of course. Unfortunately for black, there is no bishop to b4 attack the king, because the king is in the safety, is castle. So now you can notice now how white brings and develop his pieces with tempo. It means develop with attack or with protection. But now the pieces of white attacking the queen on e7. So let's see. Queen to f8, and this is very, very bad, because now the king will remain in the center. So knight to c3 and completing the development, and the situation getting more and more difficult for black. h6. So what to do? h6. Bishop to f4. Nothing bad. We can still controlling the position. f6. And this is also very bad because opening this side, side where the king will castle, is very bad. We don't play f6. This is very bad. And now, in case h3 could be played, nothing bad. But as a rule, when we are controlling the position and we are ahead in development and our king in the safe, we should open the position and take and open the files for our rooks and queen. So this is a rule. We should open the position when we are in the attack and our king is safe and the opponent king still in the center. Knight takes f6. Rook to e1, of course, attacking. King to d8. So now, after the king moves, this is very important because it means the king will stay in the center for a long time. Knight to e5. Knight takes e5. Pawn takes e5 and attacking the knight on f6. Knight to h7. So the knight can't get a break from being kicked around. So this knight from g8 to f6 to g4 to f6 and now going back to h7. Too many moves with one piece, and this is bad. So now we should be careful about our bishop. On f4, it's attacked by the queen. Bishop to g3, nothing bad. Queen to c5, also now threatening the bishop, and now there is something important now with this battery, the bishop and the queen. Queen to g4, okay, protecting our bishop, and also we are attacking the g7 pawn. Knight to g5, blocking the queen's attack and bringing the knight to the attack also. So rook a to d1, bringing more pieces, and this is the last piece for white to develop. So now c6, trying maybe to have some threats, playing d5, so attacking the bishop and the queen at the same time. But we cannot forget about the king still in the center and our rooks playing very powerful role. So d6, e6, and now we are going to open this file. In case knight takes e6, bishop takes e6, and this pawn is pinned. So very bad for black. So black now played the aforementioned move, d5 move attacking the bishop. But we can also notice that this pawn also is pinned. Bishop takes d5, and this is very clever, very smart sacrifice. In case c takes d5, rook d5, forking, double attack on the king and the queen. So now the king played to e7 and bishop to b3, and we are attacking this move bishop to d6, forking the queen and the king to a5, and this king, bishop d6 check, king to e8, queen to h5 check, king to d8, and now we can discover, or we can attack more. So e7 check, king to d7, queen, e8 queen, rook takes, queen takes, and checkmate. So this is our second example of how we should bring our king to the safety early in the game. So the next example, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, for Lopez opening, Spanish opening, and d3 also could be played castle, knight takes, d4, knight d6, bishop takes c6, d takes c6, d takes e5, knight f5, queen takes, king takes, and this is a very known variation, well-known variation in the Spanish opening, the Roy Lopez. So back to the game, d3, protecting. In case bishop to c5, bishop c6, d6, knight e5, this is bad because of the queen to d4. We have to be careful with our moves, especially in the opening. We don't have to be greedy. So d6 played, castles. In case bishop to e7 could be played, bringing the bishop, bringing the bishop and develop the bishop and trying to castle. Other move is g6. So the g6, this move more dangerous for black actually than bishop to e7. We should not open like making a space and weaknesses around our king as for black now. But still, till now, there is no danger for the black king. So in case c3 could be played, preventing any knight to d4 or any other moves, and maybe we can preparing queen to a4 or queen to b3. In the game, d4 is played, but now we can notice that white played this move in two steps, like 1 and 2, and we can play it directly, but it's okay. Maybe we can afford this kind of maneuver. So now, in case bishop to d7, blocking and unpinning the knight on c6, it's good. So e takes d4, and now, as we mentioned before, when we have our king in safety, it's our and especially when the opponent's king still in the center, it's our job or our mission to open the position. So we start with d4, e takes d4, and now e5. D takes e5, knight takes e5, and the position somehow open. In case queen to d5, trying to attack both pieces, so knight takes c6, queen takes b5, and knight takes d4. And this is very good for white, actually. So bishop to d7, trying to protect the pieces, especially the knight on c6. But we don't forget about the king still in the center. In case bishop takes c6, bishop takes c6, rook to e1, bishop to e7, bishop to h6, and this is very, very important to prevent the king from castling. Rook to e1, actually, this move is somehow bad. Maybe because there is much better moves. Maybe bishop takes c6 is better, of course, as we mentioned before. So knight takes e5, rook e5, bishop to e7, bishop to g5, exerting more pressure against the black's pieces. In case of castling, rook takes e7, queen takes e7, bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, and bishop takes f6, and this is winning for white. In the game, black played knight to g8. So when you see your opponent brings his pieces back, so this is bad for him, and you should keep your attack and your pieces making more pressure against black's king or the opponent king. Queen takes d4. So as we notice now, pieces of white attacking and controlling almost all the board, and black's pieces defending. So now, in case bishop takes b5, this is bad for him. Rook takes with check, knight takes e7, and queen takes h8 with check. If there is no check, so queen to d1, checkmate. But there is a check on the black's king. So f6, now this is seems that it's good for black, now forking the two pieces. In case bishop takes d7 with check, queen takes, and rook to d5. In the game, knight to c3. Well, if you can proceed with your plan without sacrificing any piece, it's better. Unless your sacrifice will bring you gain material or gaining more aggressive play or more initiative. So you don't just sacrifice your pieces just like that, just to bring a piece to c3, like knight to c3. So now, in case f takes g5, rook a to e1, and this is good for white. Another move in case f takes e5, and this is also bad because queen takes, and you can see now the attack, and this bishop is pinned. Another move could be played, bishop to b5, and now rook to d5, bishop to c6, rook d8, rook d8, and now we can notice how many pieces for white are under attack. The queen under attack, the bishop under attack, and now the attack of white pieces is diminished. So another variation, in case rook takes e7, check, king takes, queen c5, check, queen d6, queen takes b5, and somehow it's not getting better for whites because he played bad moves. So now f takes g5 is a bad move because rook to d1 and knight to d5. And all these variations are analysis. And now in the game, black played c5. Maybe black is not a very strong player because with too many variations to calculate, sometimes the opponent will make some mistakes. c5 is bad because bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, queen takes d7 with check, king takes, rook a to d1, check. In case king to e8, bishop takes because the bishop is pinned, knight takes, and rook to e1, rook d to e1, knight to g8, protecting, knight to d5, of course, and the bishop is lost. So in the game, king to c7, knight to d5, forking the king and the bishop. And all these, as we notice, because black didn't castle early, just simple rule. King to c6, knight to e7 check, knight e7, rook e6 check, king to b5, bishop takes f6, attacking two pieces, the knight and the rook, rook h to d8, rook takes rook, rook to takes rook, and rook to e1. And as we notice, white protected his back rank and still attacking the two pieces, one directly and one indirect. And after this, actually, black resigned. So this is for this game. Let's see the next example. And with this example, we are going to see somehow rook, sorry, e4, c6, and this is the Caro-Kann defense. Caro-Kann defense considered as solid, passive but solid. So d4, now we have 2 pawns in the center, d5, ed5, cd5, and c4. And entering the Panov-Botvinnik variation, this is the Panov attack or Panov-Botvinnik variation of the Caro-Kann. Actually, Bobby Fischer used this often. So now knight to f6, knight to c3, knight to c6, bishop to e3. In case knight to f3, this is the best continuation, but bishop to e3 is okay. g6, c5, bishop to g7, bishop to b5, castles, h3, h3 preventing any ideas of bishop to g4 because we are going to play knight to f3 or knight g to e2, e5. And actually now, as we notice, this is the black player, sorry, the white player now, he didn't castle early in the game. So as we notice, white king still in the center, and this is dangerous for him, and black king is very good in safety. So after e5, maybe this is the best to play knight g to e2, trying to castle our king. But in the game, white took on c6, bishop takes c6. So bishop takes c6, b takes c6. Actually, it's not a very good idea to exchange your bishop for a knight without any reason. The bishop on b5 still doing some work, and there is something more important to do, is to castle our king. So you don't need to exchange your bishop for the knight. So in case d5, d takes e5, this is bad, because now knight to d4, knight to d7, attacking two pawns, and this one is bad. f4, queen, h4, check. And now the king will remain in the center. Now white played knight g2, e2, trying to castle, rook to b8, and now, of course, black continue with his attack, with his pressure against the white camp. So b3, and now, as you notice, the diagonal from a1 to h8 is a little bit weak, and the bishop on g7 will be stronger if this diagonal is open. So bishop to a6, maybe castle is good, knight to e4 and f5. Maybe black is getting some actions, but still the game for white is playable. In the game, d takes e5, and this is what blacks want, because he wants to activate his bishop on g7, and this diagonal is weak. So in case knight to h5 could be played, or knight to d7. Castles, knight takes e5. And now you can see how the black's bishops are very, very active and very strong. In case now in the game f4 played, maybe white didn't realize that he must first protect his king instead of protecting his pawns. So queen to a5, now all kinds of attacks for black, and this is very dangerous for white, and he is opening his position, and his king still in the center. So now instead of castling, and this is better, after castling, knight takes c5, and the game will continue. But in the game, white played king to f2, knight takes c5. In case bishop takes c5, of course, queen takes c5, queen to d4. Still, black has the two bishops, and a little bit black's pieces are active. So queen to d2, after knight takes c5, queen to d2, knight to d3. It helps the white king to hide maybe on h2. So f6, of course, we don't forget about rooks. We should open the files for the rooks. So good play, f6 threatening to open the file. In case f6 is better, we don't have to open any files for the rooks. But what we can do, bishop takes c5 in the game. Black played, white played bishop takes c5, queen takes c5, check, queen to d4, and in case queen d4, knight d4, and now we can open. He takes f takes e5, knight takes c6, and the game continues. But it's dangerous for white. So queen to e7. Of course, when you are attacking, it's better not to exchange any pieces, because you are going to need your pieces in your attack, and if you exchange them, so the attack will be diminished and lost. Queen to a4, trying to attack the bishop on a6. Bishop takes e2. So now bishop takes e2, knight takes e2, and now f takes e5. Queen takes c6. Now maybe it's kind of like white is don't care about his king too much and look to his rooks. This rook and this rook are passive, and letting black open the files for his rooks, and the white king still in the center somehow. Careless play from white. So now he takes f4, queen takes d5, king to h8, rook a to c1. So white doesn't have any defense now. Queen to e3, check, king to e1. So now the white king is still in the center. Rook b to a8 could be played, queen to d2, and it's better for white. It's better for black, of course, because the king is in the center. Black played f3, and this is excellent move. G takes f3. Rook b to e8, threatening mate. Queen to d2, queen f3, rook to g1, queen f2, king d1, rook d8, and this is the final move for the game, and white resign. Another example, let's see another example. e4, c5, now Sicilian. d4, cd4, c3, and this is the Mora gambit. D takes accepted, d takes c3, knight c3, knight c6, knight f3, g6, bishop c4, development, and now bishop to g7 is normal and standard continuation. In the game, knight to a5. So black wants to get rid of this bishop because it exerts some pressure against f7. So queen to d4. So if you want to take the bishop, okay, white will take the rook. So immediately white grabs the important diagonal from a1 to h8 before black can place any bishop on it. So f6, black of course wants to block the queen. In case knight to f6, and this is could be played e5. So, and this is more dangerous. So f6, castle, and now d6 could be played. It's better for black. So knight to h6, and this is bad. Now we can start our action. e5, knight to f5, trying to attack. So you can see now how black played knight to h6, knight to f5, knight to c6, knight to a5. So moving the same piece more than once in the opening, it's bad sign. So now, okay, you can take, but there is a checkmate on f7. This is why we have to calculate our moves before we play. So after knight to f5, e takes f6, threatening mate. So e takes f6, rook e1 check, bishop e7, and knight to d5. So the queen is still under attack, still taken. We can take here and we can take here, but look to the strong attack of white pieces. And we don't forget about this also. So in case knight takes d4, this is analysis. Knight takes f6 check, king f8, and bishop to h6 checkmate. And now you can see the strong bishops, how plays a very important role in the attack. So now this is checkmate. Other moves in the game, black played king to f8. Of course, what to do, preventing any kind of mating attack. Rook takes e7. Still, white calculates some mating attack and keeping his queen under attack. Under attack, yes. So in case knight takes d4, sorry. In case knight takes d4, now bishop check and king to g8 and knight f6 checkmate. So the queen is protected by tactical means. So after rook takes e7, queen takes e7, bishop check, and now in case knight takes h6, knight takes e7, and the queen for black is lost. In case king to f7, so this put under a check. Knight takes e7 also with check. Knight takes f6 with check. And the game is ended. In the game, black choose to play king to e8. So now we can take our queen back. Queen to c3, attacking the knight on a5. And we can bring the rook to e1. And this is attack. So queen to d6, rook to e1 check, king to d8, bishop f4, attacking the queen and also threatening checkmate. Queen to c6, still protecting the c7. Queen f6 check. Queen takes f6, and now bishop to c7. Very beautiful checkmate. So actually this is our game and our session for today. As a conclusion, as a conclusion, so many players will neglect castling because they want to attack, they want to play aggressively or to play uh, dangerous moves. But this is possible in some situations, but not. But we want to be on the lookout for active moves that can expose any enemy king that remains uncastled for too long. So additionally, we want to ensure that we don't keep our king in the center for too long in the opening if there is a risk of the center exploding. Of course, uh, always castle as soon as you can, as soon as possible. Thank you for watching this session and see you next session and next training episode. Bye.